I got woken up on Saturday morning about 20 minutes after you posted that the chili and the breakfast burrito were back by my husband, who said, "Happy breakfast burrito at Joya's to all who celebrate. It's back. Let's go get up."
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Restaurant Roundtable, a podcast for chefs by chefs. My name is BJ Lieberman, and I am the chef and owner of Chapman's Eat Market, Ginger Rabbit, and Here Eighth here in Columbus, Ohio.
And I'm Shanika Shepard. I'm the co-owner of Marlowe's Cheesesteaks, located in Columbus, Ohio, alongside with my husband, Jamar Shepard, who couldn't be here today because he's down in New Orleans celebrating that big win that the Philadelphia Eagles had against the Chiefs.
I'm Kate Jupe, and I own Hey Cake.
I'm Bashar Barua. I own Joya's and Agni here in Columbus, Ohio.
And we will get to introduce our special guest for today in a second, but first, Kate has some statistics to read us.
Today's topic is an interesting one, given the stats say that 45% of U.S. restaurant diners choose to visit a place for the first time based on social media influence.
Since running your social media accounts can feel like another separate job altogether, on top of our already full-time job, we're so excited to share our insights with you today and introduce you to our special guest to help answer the question, what's the secret to making your restaurant the talk of the town in 2025? Our special guest today to talk about social media is Chad Rosenthal. Welcome to the Restaurant Roundtable. If you could tell us what you do and specifically how social media helps shape your business.
Yeah, Chad Rosenthal. Just flew in from Philly. Go Birds.
Woohoo!
I watched it on my couch last night. Yeah, I own and operate, like you said, maybe some other restaurants. I'm in a whole rebuilding thing. So I don't know what my restaurants are right now. My newest spot that I'm the chef in the kitchen is called Mary. It's in a suburb of Philadelphia called Ambler. Use a ton of social media. We use Instagram mostly, but use it a ton to, for our business, and that's what I do. Yeah, I've been owned restaurants for 18 years. I've done a ton of Food Network work. Started out in the barbecue world, I guess we'll get to talk about that today.
So for the main course and where we start to get into the meat of the topics, we'll break down some real strategies and experiences that we use to put into practice at our restaurants. So the first question for us today is, what social media do we use around the table and how does that affect our business? We've talked about this a little bit before, but I personally and not in my personal life, a big fan of social media. But for the restaurants, we mostly use Instagram as our social media platform. We have a presence on Facebook, but not a big one. Shanika, what do you guys like to focus on?
So we use Instagram and Facebook. Engagements are important to us, and we actually get more engagement on Facebook than we do on Instagram, which shocks a lot of people. So when it's time to, boost posts, we'll boost them on Facebook because that's where we get the most traction.
Historically, I have done social media for multiple restaurants or businesses, and I focus a lot more on Instagram than anything else. This year's been complicated because I'm having a complicated relationship with social media, and I'm really trying to figure out how that works. I know that there are several people leaving platforms. I don't know that there are stats yet that will tell us that. I don't really know how to reach some of the people that are trying to check out of that, including me.
Yeah.
I think I primarily use Vine. It's the best platform for everything. I don't remember that. Yeah, no. Instagram became our social media kind of traction zone, but I started from a background of I like just pictures and taking pictures. So I think initially when it opened up, I wasn't aware that it was a social media app. Actually, because my name is Bashar on social media, it was. It had just come out for Android back in the day, and I thought it was a photo editing app. And then when it opened it, I was like, why would you ever want to share pictures with anybody? We had like Flickrs and stuff for that back then. But it seems to be the best integration for us for ease of use and audience to, like, you click and you see the stuff. It's also backed with Meta Suite, so for business analytics, obviously Facebook and Meta gives you a lot more reach, I think, and then Instagram gives you like the attention.
Yep.
We just do a hybrid of those two. But we're open to anything at this point, so.
Chad, how do you use Instagram in your business? Or social media, I should say.
Yeah, Instagram is what we use. Thanks for building it. We use Instagram. It's all connected to Meta, to Facebook. But I never look on the Facebook, and I should. I don't do a good job of it. I'm in a suburb of Philly. I feel like I only have Facebook so my mom knows I'm alive. It's like I feel like Instagram's a little younger, Facebook's a little older. And I am in a suburb where it's not, you can't be like, well, you know Philly, it's not like Fishtown, right? So you can't be overly cool, right? And even have a cool restaurant.
I wouldn't know how to do that if I tried.
Yeah,
so.
right. Neither could I. Yeah, we started same way, just taking really cool photos of being a chef of your food, right? And then you learn that pictures aren't cool anymore, and now you got to do reels. But yeah, like I said, my new spot, Mary, which is this little 40-seater. I have no phone. We do have a phone number. There's actually just no phone, and that's because I forgot to. We opened it so quickly out of a pivot out of the pandemic. Forgot to put a phone in it.
Yeah.
Right. So now we literally we have an email address, and obviously a link to we use Toast for reservations. We're still new, but it works for us.
What aspects of social media do you find difficult?
Just finding time when we all have so much to do. Finding time to like really sit down and reels. I don't know if you've figured it out from the first like 3 minutes of this how ADHD I am. It's like you got to find a cool song that's trending, right? Then you got to like make sure your video's cool. And you got to cut it down. And you got to make sure there's nothing stupid in the background. It's like putting all the pieces together. You can't just like be quick with it, right? It takes time. So it's just finding the time to like make it happen.
So do you manage your own social media?
I do.
That was going to be my next question.
Interesting.
And I don't think I do the best job of it, but I've tried in the past, giving it to like someone younger that works for me. But it always takes, well, what do you want me to say? What are we looking to do? And it takes 50 more questions, so I'm just gonna do it. So I don't know if I do the best job of it, but I do it myself.
Now, how much time do you devote to it?
As much as I can. I think the right way to do it is to really schedule it. Really being consistent with what you're doing. Yep. And I don't think I do a good job of that. I think I need to do a better job of that.
So when we first opened, I was doing it. And then, we were new to being restaurant owners. And then there were other things that we had to prioritize.
Right.
So we ended up hiring someone, which was good. Fast forward to present, the landscape of social media has changed so much.
Yeah.
So to your point about the reels and everything that goes into that's something that we lack.
It's hard to hire. I think it's so important to have ownership. You're the owner of the restaurant. It's hard to like relay that ownership into your social media when you hire someone and keep it feeling. Also, I tried to hire someone once. I feel like when you're in your restaurant and you see a cool dish or you see someone cool come in or you see someone's birthday and they're having this cool moment, it's hard to get that stuff and you get this generic feeling. And that was always my problem with it. Keeping it feeling like you want it to feel.
Yep, like authentic.
Yeah.
And
You need Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
for your social media, is the purpose of it to drive reservations?
Are we talking about my personal or the restaurants?
I think that's another question I wanted to ask is how do you tie the brand and your own like personal brand together? Are they separate? Is it something where like you are such a part of the fabric of your own businesses that they're together? Like how
they're
is that?
together and separate. It's hard to like, sometimes I'll put them together. I have a bigger reach than the restaurant does because it's fairly new. Your first question, obviously, driver, it's a very small place. We can only, we have 40 seats. We can turn them 3 times. So it's like, great. If we can get 120 covers, like book through social media, awesome. I try to work some staff into there, doing some cool, fun things to show it. We have a cool team, and it's, obviously show what's on the menu, if we have any specials, if something cool happened. I have such a small team. I have 6 people. So I have like one dishwasher who does prep work, and he's awesome. He had a birthday the other night. So it's like, but finding like cool ways to like show that stuff.
Right.
Is what I.
So I definitely want to follow back up on how it affects your covers, but Avishar, you have an interesting relationship with social media in that you are both your restaurant's like face and also your restaurants have their own accounts, including a secret menu account. So how do you use social media and what purpose are you trying to achieve with social media?
I think we're just now finding purpose this year. So, which there's some truth to that. When you start the thing, it's always marketing budget, whatever. You have these ideas of a way that it's supposed to go, and somebody will say, "This is what you should be doing. This is what we want." And both Kate and I have some experience in this, and I won't say where, but because we worked together in some places in the past, and it's a challenge because, and to your point as an owner, if your voice is taken from you, and your voice is that of the kitchen or your voice is that of pastry or something, and you don't get to express that voice, it comes off on social media completely that way. Like there's no way you can hide that. It just comes out 100% that way. So we kind of snuck our way into it. Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly. That's the right time. He knows exactly what to do. Yeah. And so that's what you call an authentic moment. Yes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
For anybody who's not
Yeah,
watching
be
this,
cool.
they are now making social media posts while we're talking.
Right.
So, Avishar, are you trying to drive reservations with your social media? Or are you trying to give general knowledge about your secret menu? Like, what is the ultimate goal of you posting on social
Well,
media?
I think the goal is in what you just said. You said social media, right? So if we're using social media, it should be social media. It's its own thing, right? Everything it's enabling afterwards, ads, reservations, that's secondary actually. So if you start with the social media part, then you can shape it however you like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a good social media, then what the heck's the point? Like if you take a perfect picture and nobody looks at it, and your goal is, obviously if it's social, you want somebody to look at it, right? I think people aren't focusing on that so much. They're just like, hey, this is what I want to have 1 million followers. And my question to everybody that does it, and we don't have that many, but I think our ratio is right where we can see how our engagement is. Most people that look at our stuff, they come into our restaurant and say, hey, I saw that special. That's we have something to say to them. So if you have something to say, then and you build it that way, it makes a lot more sense to me than saying, I want to make a viral video that's going to hit for, I don't know, 2 weeks, and then it'll taper back to maybe I got 1,000 extra, which is still great.
Right.
But it's so hard to retain that because inside you get greedy. You're like, I want more likes. I want more followers. That's every single person. It's like,
it's literally a dopamine hit.
yeah,
when-
I mean,
yeah.
psychologically,
Yeah.
it's designed to do that. That's a platform.
Yeah.
But we try to use it for the way that's like, hey, is this expressing us to our truest form? Because in absence of that, you have the media, you have the news talking about you, you have papers, you have publications. Social media is your chance, if you want to be an owner, to express yourself to the world. So start with that, I think, and then go from there.
How about you, Kate? What's your purpose of social media when you use it?
I used to own a space that really worked hard to help other food businesses, and it was a lot of telling other people's stories for them or helping them tell their stories while also showing the process of opening a business. And it was a really time-consuming thing, and I invested a lot of my energy and time into it. And I thought that was wild and fun, and it was almost therapeutic at the time, but I found it really difficult to let that go. Like, there was definitely a point where I needed to hire somebody else to do it. I couldn't get the voice to feel real. It didn't feel like it was in the moment. A lot of it is just being in there and like, this is a thing that stands out to me and I want to share that. I also felt like there was no distance between me, the person, and this thing that I had done. And I really struggled with that. I think I've said that multiple times over season 1. Social media is difficult because I want to tell the story of the business, of the food, of me, but I also want to figure out how to be a private person.
Yeah, I have a
get that.
complicated relationship with it as well. I'll never forget, right when we opened Chapman's, I had my personal account that was public, and then we had the Chapman's account. And on my personal account, I posted something somewhat political, and somebody literally wrote, "Shut up and cook."
Yeah.
On my thing. I was like, you know what, this is my personal life, so I brought my personal account private, so I don't do anything for the restaurants on my personal account, and I honestly don't know if that's like the right thing from a business standpoint, but I do feel like there needs to be a separation of those
I had
things.
strangers
I agree.
approach me and talk to my kids.
Oh,
And I was like,
that's
oh,
not
this
wow.
isn't okay
Okay.
anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not that my kids were like a total big part of the initial social media, but I think if you let any detail about your life out, you have to be prepared for people to have opinions, comment, try and engage with it. And that's hard.
If you look at my personal, I have nothing. I don't see my family. I don't see my kids. I just stay away from that. And the political, that's a whole nother talk.
Would
It's
you
like,
say
I
that
don't-
your personal account is more of a business account than like your actual
it's like
personal?
the stuff that I do in the food world.
Yeah.
Um,
So it has a
stuff-
purpose more than just like
It
an
does.
average.
So a lot of it
person.
can be.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, same thing as your restaurant, my new one, Mary. It's me in the kitchen with a sous chef. We have 2. That's it. So it's I put it on mine, and then you collaborate
Oh,
collaborate
great.
with the
Yeah.
restaurant and all
Yeah.
that. But I think it's your way to show people this is what it feels like here. Not just like we have a shot and a beer special and a burger tonight. Because you've seen those social media accounts where it's literally like ad. It looks like ads. It's it's like this is really cool. And it might not be for everyone. And then that's social too. They know it doesn't look like I don't want a dark candlelit restaurant. Like I wish my audience was more engaged. You brought up engagement. I think it's so important. My audience I had like 50, 60,000. And it was a lot after I did Food Network shows. And 13 years ago, I was on Food Network Star. And at that time, that was like their biggest show, and it's no longer on the air. But then after that, I started doing work with Home Shopping Network and QVC. And I got a ton of followers. A lot of these followers, I mean, their demo is mostly like women that are like between like 40 and 70 in the middle of the country. And that's great. And I love you all. But they can't help my Restaurant Rambler.
Right.
And so, I had to build a new following. So I have a mix of like a ton of locals in the Philly area that, love me and my food and the things that I do. And so I try to utilize that for reach to connect to the restaurants, which I think is so important. I want to be one of the people that just like takes a picture, it says something really witty, and then just lets it go.
Then it goes viral. And then
it goes
the
viral, but
restaurant's
then you
full.
spelled something wrong.
Yeah.
Said something stupid.
No, that is my.
Yeah.
I do have a burning question that
Yeah.
I've been thinking about since we chose this as a topic, and this might just be anecdotal on my part.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what everyone else has to say about it. For Chapman's, we do a lot of special events. We do a lot of things that we change, and the way that we normally communicate that with the public is
Yeah.
through Instagram, social
Yeah.
media. And it was in like 2021, 2022, if we were going to do like a burger special, if we were going to do a guest chef dinner, we would make one post on social media and we would just sell out. It would be immediate.
Right.
No other thought process went into it other than that. Recently, it's been way harder. I don't know if it's us being less popular or if it's social media behaving differently. And that's kind of why I wanted to ask you guys if you've seen anything like that or if I just suck.
No, I don't, you don't
Oh,
sell.
it's a combination of both.
I think TikTok just kind of helped show how much of what we're seeing is an ad. And sometimes that just feels exhausting and you scroll past it. A lot of people get their news through the app and the news doesn't make you feel great right now. And
Sure
so you scroll
doesn't.
past
Yeah.
it. But when you're scrolling past some of those updates, I find it really disconcerting then to see the ad. I do think that Joya's does a really good job with their social media because it feels like you're being invited into like a home or a community that you've signed up for. It just feels welcoming in a way that doesn't feel like an ad. It feels like, well, there's going to be some very punny stuff there. There's also some like ask and engagement, like what would you like to see kind of stuff. I think it's hard, and I see a lot of people taking social media hiatuses, and so I'm not sure if there's just like the people that were showing up before or maybe trying to get their information some other way. I don't know what that is. I'm not helpful on this one, sorry.
It could just the time that we're in now compared to the 21 and 22. Like people, they were dying to get out. Like they're like, I have to be here. I have to be here. And then there are other options. And then when you have people going, they're getting like inundated with this one has, this place has this place has this. Where do I have to pick one. Where am I going to go?
Yeah. How about you, Chad? Do you see any change in behavior of people on social media one way or the other?
I had a restaurant that I opened, a beautiful barbecue spot that I opened like a week before the pandemic. And the area just went like this. So I was either like, let this thing fail or try to do something. And I did this thing called the Lucky Well Incubator. And it was a chef incubator for like those folks that are in that like pop-up scene.
Right.
Where these chefs would be doing really great things, but then they would pop up at a brewery or a distillery or all this stuff. Well, I gave them my kitchen. I had an application process, and we brought 4 of them in, and it went really great. But the only way, all the money that they were bringing in were flowing right back to them. For them, it was great. One guy, his spot just is up for a Beard Award, and like it went really, really great. I feel like that whole world has slowed down, and I think you're right. I think it's like people are buying like cocktails and like soda bottles, like all like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And it's slowed down a little. In my specific Restaurant Rambler, it's still kind of hot because again, I'm in a suburb of Philly, so
You're really connected with your audience.
The community. It's a little bit easier, I
Yeah.
think, to do some cool things. Whether you're in downtown Philly, where there's 1,000 places you can go.
Yeah. And I have a question.
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back too about the no phone. I
Yeah.
need you to go a little bit deeper into the no phone.
So my no phone's a little different than your no phone, and I haven't even been to your spot, but you have a cheesesteak spot, right? No phone won't work there because you're
But
a quick takeout.
We don't take phone orders.
Oh, so get rid of your phone. Get rid of it.
Do you get emails like, why don't you
do.
have a phone?
I do.
Like what?
It's
I'm just curious.
So I have a staff of 6 people, right? I have like a general manager,
Okay.
a chef, a sous chef, a dishwasher, and a couple front of house staff that do everything. run
Okay.
through, greet you at the door. I have no hostess. And it's a really low lit, like sexy little spot, right?
Okay.
There was nowhere to put a phone on a hostess stand. So the phone would be back in the office. No one would hear it anyway. And I've had a problem in the past. I used to have a much bigger barbecue spot called the Lucky Well. It was it was a blues club and a barbecue spot. It was always loud. I had 2 hosts and hostesses at the door. They could never hear the phone anyway. It never got answered, and that's when people got pissed off. Now I can at least say, I don't have a phone. I don't have a
Okay.
phone. We do check emails for reservations,
Okay.
and then we have a reservation system through Toast that we connect with our social media.
Okay.
Like link in bio, make a reservation. And, we do get a lot of emails. Like I have a gift card.
What if you need to call someone about something? Do you just do it from your personal cell phone? Like, we have people who will put like an allergy that we can't accommodate in their thing.
We write them
or-
back through Toast tables. If it's like a private party or stuff like that, we use cell phones.
Yeah, we use social for some things, but what I find is challenging with connecting with our audience, to your point, is you have to have a back and forth, a conversation with voice and tone. Because in absence of those, people will assume the worst case scenario generally because they don't trust businesses as much these days.
Yeah.
Like it's what you see on these same platforms is like, this is how you hack Chipotle, or why are you spending so much at a restaurant? These are the same videos that go viral that we're trying to use as our assets. So I encourage a diversity. I don't think it hurts to do one, but I think it's for Agni specifically to exclude my parents because my parents don't know how to use the internet. So sorry, they came from before generation to
Right.
exclude them as guests
Right.
who could come to my restaurant because they don't have an Instagram. I think that was challenging for me to accept, and that's because initially we didn't have one, and my staff is on board with because they're like, we don't want to talk. Nobody wants to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody right now.
So I
Yeah.
have a phone line, right? There's no phone connected to it.
Yeah.
But I did set up my voicemail, and the voicemail says, "Thank you for calling Mary. We're open 4 nights a week. If you have any questions, please email info@maryambo.com." Obviously, if we get to the point where they don't understand through email, which hasn't happened much, which is interesting, obviously we make calls. Or if we're booking out a private party or renting
Yeah, yeah.
space, or
I love
if
it.
there's a serious allergy or if there's a wheelchair accessibility thing.
Yeah.
But it does. I'm trying to simplify everything in this restaurant because I've had a ton of restaurants that were not simple.
You
And
also
then
have the-
also, if you have a lot of seats, which I don't, but I did, in the suburbs, it's hard to find staff. So you have to hire kids, right? Kids at the local high schools that are your hosts and hostesses. And to get back to your point about like voice to voice, if you have a 17-year-old high school kid, that's great, and she's the best ever. It's very hard to talk to. No, it's very hard to talk to an adult that's coming out to spend a lot of money on a meal. The conversations don't work. So I'd rather get that stuff via email, and if I have to make the call, it's small enough. I'm guessing you have a bigger restaurant, you open more nights than 4 nights a week. And
We started off
Try-
with 4 weeks. I mean, honestly, and on the other side of things, when we engaged in social media together at one of our restaurants, and we opened up the secret kitchen menu page, which was you can only order from there. Like our fear was like somebody's going to come in and be like, how come they got it and I didn't get it? The idea, I think, initially was that we wanted stuff in small amounts that we could easily sell out. So if somebody was to come to the restaurant, they'd know that it's already sold out by seeing this thing. In practice, we had to print out the thing that we made a digital
the
version
secret
of.
menu.
However, like now I'm seeing we still carry it forth, and we have it at Joya's every now and then. We'll do it as like an incubator or tester. So we'll put a dish out there, and the turnover is so like we were saying. How you're saying emails are faster. In this case, it's not the case. As soon as we post on social media, within 20 minutes, someone will show up. And our staff isn't prepared sometimes because they're like, wait, you posted and you didn't tell us about allergies. Like, So it's caused, and it's just always impressive to see that it goes both ways, certainly. Maybe it doesn't get 100,000 people in, but it gets 15 of our regulars in, and they're like, you brought the chili back. Like, what? Where's the chili? And so-
Anecdotally, I got woken up on Saturday morning about 20 minutes after you posted that the chili and the breakfast burrito were back by my husband, who said, happy breakfast burrito at Joya's to all who celebrate. It's back. Let's go get up.
It's like an energy too,
So-
like it's its own personality. So I think we treat it as such. And to be fair, you 200,000 followers, you on Instagram is not you as a person. It's
I'm talking about my-
it's an identity that you create. So you have to not get too attached to it. Every single person that gets to a certain peak in social media, you immediately know that you have to disconnect. You can't just, it's not you in
100%.
real life. You have to, there's a presentation that you're making, just like an actor. You might know them from the movies they're in, but you haven't even talked to them. So it's very challenging to see when you go through that, I never received any training in that, but once I got back from Top Chef, they don't tell you what to do once it goes. Like, you're like, I was trying to respond to every single person. It's impossible. Like, it's literally impossible to do. So it's, you learn these things, I think, along the way, but you always have to remember, like, it isn't you. It's maybe a part of you, but it's not the whole picture. And that's the picture. Like, when you take a picture and you have a good picture, you share the good picture. You don't want to show the bad picture for your business, right? Maybe for your personal you can, but for your business you want to show the good stuff. So that's the best usage, in our opinion, for like our businesses.
Well, you brought up something really interesting that I want to follow up on, and I think it applies to all of us in a way, but you were saying posting something that maybe your staff didn't know that you posted, or for me, I actually have a social media team that we set like our calendar, and I definitely want to dig into that about how you guys manage your calendar too. But like sometimes we'll post something on social media that our team isn't ready for, or they'll put out a special and they don't tell me about it quick enough that I can like get it on our social media thing. So how do you deal with basically everyone getting the knowledge of what's going on in this like amorphous thing that like doesn't have to do with the business but affects the business, like social media? Because I found it really difficult to communicate with our entire team like what's happening in our like outward facing world that's going to affect our inward facing world. Like, have you found that to be a constant problem, or like
I wouldn't call it a problem. I think it's a misunderstanding or a lack of proper communication. And it's hilarious because we're talking about how we have access to the world in our pocket right now. And even with that, because it's not a person-to-person stuff, because you use Homebase or whatever, oh, I didn't check the message. Oh, I didn't check my text, I'm working. You know, everyone always has a reason as to why, and it's a valid reason. And if you listen to the reason, it's because it wasn't discussed together and there was probably some uncertainty, right? Because they're now representing something that's in the digital realm. And if it's in the digital realm, it's permanent. So you don't want to be made to look a fool by forgetting about a special that wasn't there. And so they'll get defensive or say something like that. But what we do now is we'll say, okay, before we can go live on this post, we'll reach out to the managers, and then the managers will be responsible to reach out to everybody else, and then everybody else will go. So the whole team is more or less informed. There's always going to be one or two, but if you have one person that can make up the difference that's on site, just like if you're doing like health, if you have a health department certificate, if one person has it, they can deal with or work with the inspector. Same sort of idea with social media. I think you have to take it just as seriously because you want big results. You have to treat it as such. Like the scheduling, as you were saying, that's the one thing that people don't get is you have to be consistent. Like you can, there's pages that just post a picture of an egg every single day, and it's the same egg in the same angle, but they post it every day for a year, and they have like 1 million followers. And it works is they want you to have attention towards the product, right? That's social media. It's attention economy. So we know that as a baseline. So how do we use it for good? I think the way that we can use it for good is to share with our audience, because like they're using that to give them time to look at the ad. We're using it to say, hey, you're going to click on this thing anyway, so why not do something positive for something that's like, hey, it can give you the in on our business. And as long as you stick to those two tenets, like the rest, you can be yourself completely, and that's encouraged. But if you avoid those and you just go, hey, I want to focus on this other video that got 1 million likes, how are you going to make 5 of them? Like, you make one, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to carry a business to the end. It might, but you've seen, just as much as you've seen people succeeding in social media, you've seen really successful people failing like weeks, months. In my eyes, it's not sustainable until you like understand what you're kind of getting into. And it's like, it's such a powerful tool, but I think it has potential to be abused, and we shouldn't look at it that way.
I mean, I know you do your social media on your own. Do you have a schedule you try to keep up with, or are you a little bit more?
I had a little Vietnamese sandwich shop. It was called Rosie's for a year. I loved it. But it was literally, I got out of my large restaurant, which was the barbecue spot that I had for 13 years. I wanted to keep a couple people employed while I was building my little spot, so I opened this spot called Rosie's. And I did hire a team, and they were great. And it was very, we're going to do this, we're going to do, some guest stuff, we're going to do some employee stuff, we're going to obviously do your special. We had a me of the day, MI, it was like a guest walked in, and we had this one wall that said like Bon Me, and it had and then we had a mini me for the kid. It was kitschy, but I don't know, I still feel it got, by hiring someone else that is not in the restaurant on a semi-daily basis, it didn't feel authentic to me.
Do you think that there's a pathway to allowing correction or like teaching someone how, like,
I do.
And I think
I'm
that's
really bad. It sounds like, I think if it's someone on your team, I had a firm and they were like in New Jersey, and they would come in and we take professional shoots, and maybe we do some video shoots and things like that, and then they would post it daily, different stuff. It just felt very like, okay, today's the day where we need to post about this, and then we'd text the whole staff, does anyone have a good picture of this? And it just started feeling like not right. It just was like,
thing that I noticed, and maybe I'd love to hear if other people have had this, the more produced the content I would put, the more
The
I
less
might,
engagement?
the less engagement, and also it definitely didn't hit with people. I would think it was so exciting,
Yeah.
like this is beautiful, and people just didn't enjoy it as much. In some ways, I feel like Instagram is more like the candid photo than the professional photo.
I
So
would
the-
hire. Sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, that you're speaking to something that drives me crazy. Where we have found that the candid photos perform much better, they drive engagement much better. So our social media team has tried really hard to make these things feel not produced. Our staff has serious opinions when we post something that's not like a professional photo. Like
Yeah.
people have come in, I've like overheard them be like, "That post today was pathetic," and I'm like, "But."
So
pathetic."
first
And I'm
of all,
just like,
even backing up just even more, the fact that they saw the post and are commenting on it is more engagement than even caring about anything. So the point of it, right, is
Right.
So you see these
That's the
on
social
big
part,
accounts,
right.
you see this comments like, "I didn't know that this person was this," or like, "Can you tell me, what was Michael Jordan's whatever?" It's an obvious fact, and they're saying it like they don't know because someone's going to hit the like and then comment on it, and that continues the chain of that's how. Remember, it's attention economy, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's good or bad, that it has potential to be abused that way. But if somebody discusses it, it's succeeded as a post.
Correct.
Yeah.
They don't actually have to click anything. If they stop their phone and scrolling and it's moving, that's how reels work, right? Because if you're watching it, if you stop it, you're watching it. Even if you're not looking at your screen, if you stop scrolling for 1 second and you got 2 seconds of attention, which is the 3 seconds of the lifespan of a reel, you've already got the engagement.
The most engagement you can get is like, yum.
We
Correct.
ran a special last week and posted about it online. People specifically came in to get that dish, but because it was a special one, we
Yeah,
had
you
no
knew that it was
warning that was
urgent.
happening.
Small batch kind
Well,
of thing.
we didn't
Right.
get to have our professional photographer with their DSLR come in. We took an iPhone photo, and that's what it was. And like,
But-
that's what my point is when it feels more authentic that we didn't overproduce this
Correct.
thing. And it's just, hey, this is what we're working on
When
today.
it's
or
not
this
Generally,
is
someone
the
who's
chef.
you're
in
your
the
own
moment
worst
to-
enemy when it comes to social media for your business because you're going to have perfectionistic tendencies and that prevents you from getting on a posting schedule. So you just have to get over it and also remember on the other side of it,
Stop
it's,
attacking me.
it's social media. So if you think you're so important that someone's going to
Squirt 'em with
remember what you
ketchup
posted
packet.
15 seconds after they saw it as opposed to this gentleman who's got 250,000, like if you like even just compare 2 or 3 or 5 of us, we all have
Yeah.
these different, someone's going to scroll, see it, and they're going to go on their day, right? So what you need to capture, it's just you make a very good point. Show what you want to show. Don't show what you don't want to show. Just show it and put it out there. And if it sucks, it keeps going forward. Can't
I
pretend,
I
but
find it
spent,
balance is good,
the
too.
best photographer in Philadelphia to come in and take like barbecue photos, and I think they're great for your website
yeah, for website design.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. But and then you're like, this is the greatest picture. I'm gonna put it on my Instagram, and then like you get no likes.
And you can't be
Yeah.
mad about it because it doesn't really, like, that's your own ego saying this is the greatest picture on Instagram.
Correct.
You think Instagram doesn't have its own idea what the greatest picture is for Instagram? Like, it's already telling you. Yeah. It's,
Well-
iPhone is good.
Have you
It's
guys
like-
messed around with meta ads at all?
I haven't.
I have to learn more before I
Yep,
get
me
in,
too.
involved
So
with
I,
that.
I have
Yes.
a digital marketing team, and this is something that we've recently gotten into that I think is a cool thing to just share because I'm obviously totally inept when it comes to social media, but luckily the team that I hired isn't. It's really interesting because essentially what you do is you set up a purpose of this ad. You say, and it'll ask you, what do you want to do with this? It's interesting how it all works. And then over the course of like 3 months, you get all this data, and then you actually start really being able to run the ad. The first 3 months are like total data collection time.
right.
And we've seen a ton of new followers off of this trial period that we're going through with like the learning, they call it the learning phase for meta ads. For folks at home, if you have a business, it's a really interesting thing to go through this meta process of understanding your audience a lot better.
Yeah, I think I have some, I would say, probably higher engagement chefs who have become, one would say, a social media influencer. Before it was kind of a term. And they were speaking about, when I was asking them, because I had to be curious, and he was pushing into, he's like, make sure you activate Meta right away, because he's like, I use TikTok and Instagram to do these things, and it's gotten me, like all the collaborations I may have wanted in a career path, actually. But he said the Facebook or the Meta suite is what you want to engage in actively because it's designed as a marketing tool for the demographic of people, like you were saying, your grandparents, your parents. Like my mom, she will be like, oh, I saw this ad for this thing that you can put on the dog and his joints will be healed. And
Yeah.
remember your parents when they used to watch infomercials? And to your point, QVC, like, that is your audience,
Yeah, right.
more or less.
Oh,
and
my
they
dad
will-
orders stuff off of Facebook ads all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So clearly it's working, yes. So, like, we can make fun of it all we want to, but it does a very good job at getting what it wants to get done. And we know that marketing is the purpose of that. So for our businesses, why not tap into that?
I
Yes,
mean,
when-
people love you when you're being your authentic self.
or making fun of somebody else,
Yeah.
which is my authentic self. Yeah. So if
I
that,
think authenticity, I think, is so important with, I kind of hit it on the head. I'm going to check out your Instagram when I leave here.
It's nothing to
There's a restaurant in Philly and Fishtown called Middle Child. They like best like breakfast sandwich like in the country. I think they want a thing. It's insane what they do on social media. It's really authentic. They get in trouble a lot on it. They say whatever the hell they want to say. More people like it than not. But they're in Fishtown. It's like, you know, the super hipster area.
Yeah.
I'm in a suburb of Philly. I need to kind of like be cool without being too cool. You know, right. For us, it's easy.
I think what
be
it sounds
not
like,
too cool.
sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
it's
everybody is aware of this is
Yeah.
with social media, it sounds like you need to know your audience because it sounds like you know your audience.
Yeah,
sounds like you know
don't.
your audience.
You don't.
So if you know your audience, then the next step is easy to connect with them on social media, like the
Yeah.
way that posts what would be appropriate for your audience.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be maybe the best pathway of growth for sustainable growth, right?
Yeah, there's another little tip or trick I want to throw out there that I just found out about, and I think they've mentioned this to the group before, but if you have a database of emails through your Rezzi or whatever, you can actually load them into Meta, and if someone has a profile associated with that, they'll pull all the data of like who those people are and amalgamate it so that you know like we have this little pocket in Bexley that's a suburb here in Columbus where we know that is a strong demographic for us of people who like come into the restaurant. It's wild because you just put the emails in and it pops up like this is where you should be marketing. This is your target group, and it's really wild how all this stuff works. But there's all these tools at our fingertips, but it's like how do you use them? And to your point, how do you stay authentic while also trying to market directly to your audience?
The shop that you mentioned that's in Fishtown.
Middle Child.
That,
Yeah.
Yep, that does the BLT.
Yeah.
And how they're able to be authentic. Like, that's great. But there are also some places that can't be their authentic selves. So I'm from Philadelphia. My husband's from Philadelphia, born and raised
Right.
inner city.
Right.
And yes, we have cheesesteaks, but like in our restaurant in Gahanna, because of where we're located, you know, we want a diverse group of people to come in, which that location definitely, we're one of the most diverse restaurants in downtown Gahanna, which is great. That's what we want. But we have to, there's so many other things that we have to be like cognizant of. So there was someone who posted about Wario's, who's another cheesesteak spot out here too,
Yep.
how they walked into one of their shops and there was a, I think it was a Kendrick Lamar song that was playing. Well, that was widely received. But if we were to do that, the type of comments that we would get would be like insane. Like we could never have Kendrick Lamar playing, meaning like the unexplicit, you know, version. We just
Right.
can't have
Yeah,
it
yeah,
playing
right.
because we would get stereotyped, which sucks because that's our culture.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that was the point I was trying to make in Fishtown.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, these are a bunch of hipsters and everyone gets it and you got to know
your audience.
Your audience. I'm in
Yeah.
a suburb
Yeah.
and, you know, there's a couple wealthy towns and then I mean, it's very diverse. So you
yeah,
almost
'cause you're
need
by
to, that's
Cedarbrook.
one thing about social media. That's like,
Yeah.
you could still be really funny and be yourself, but you also still need to think like,
You can ask her about the proofreading. Like the first thing is fast, and then it takes
Yeah.
3 hours to make sure that I didn't
Totally.
say anything that could be perceived in a certain way because
perceived in a certain
yeah.
way, spelling, is there
And
like,
it's certainly
what's
challenging.
behind you in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Like what, you
Does
know, like,
everybody else compulsively read their posts like an hour later and find 3 things you wish you had changed?
That's why the edit feature exists.
The edit feature
Literally,
does
that's it,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it comes in
Pretty
clutch.
quick.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
So with social media being a global thing, but our purpose is to like win our neighborhood. How do you use social media to win your neighborhood? Especially like you said, a large portion of your followers aren't even in your neighborhood. So how do you drill down on that?
You know, I think that's a great point. I mean, you know, when your neighborhood or when you're in Columbus, Ohio, or I connect it with my restaurants, like we talked about. I think your what do they call that? Your profile is so important because let's just say you post something and it goes viral, and they're in the middle of the country or they're on the West Coast. You want those people to know who the heck you are, where your restaurant is, and why they should go there if they ever come to Columbus, Ohio. Or, hey, my aunt's in Columbus, Ohio. Shoot the profile, or like I was in Philly and said to a friend of mine, where should I take my son for dinner tonight? And he shot me some Instagram links. I think that's so important. You know, for my local restaurant accounts, it's great. I posted a really cool video of me making French onion soup, right? And I got 1 million. It went viral. It doesn't really matter. If you said it, if I get 100 likes and I get 15 people that come out in my neighborhood, I mean then you won. So the viral thing's fun. It's good for your ego. I have teenage kids. It's like, hey, your dad's got some likes on the college campus. You know, it's like, but does it really matter? It's like, but I do think that profile is very important. You know, it can be funny and it can be witty, but also is like that link in profile. You know, what do you do? What did you do cool? You know, Top Chef, but where's your restaurant? What are the hours? I think that stuff is so important to like have that stuff updated and clickable. And if you're more of a takeout spot or something, be able to go right, like click it, and one click you're at like, I'm gonna order a cheesesteak and
it's already made the combo for you.
Fried onions, you know, whatever. Great if you go viral. Great if you get a trillion follows and all that stuff. But like at the end of the day, how's that gonna make me more successful in my town and you know, bring people to my restaurants or buy more cheesesteaks?
I think we'll see this as you were clearly somebody that has a lot of followers. A lot of my friends also, they're always trying to find a way to keep up with. Like, it's not like a trillion followers solved anything for them. Now they're stuck in a place where if they don't post, they're getting screamed at. Now their entire life has changed, and not necessarily like they're this sort of folks that now have to go on social media breaks, and their breaks are pretty serious because it's their occupation. Like, it'll be like taking PTO, and social media again, it was supposed to be fun, right? And now they're no longer, just like with restaurants, you cook at home, you enjoy it, you have a restaurant. If you seek to go there, make sure that you have the support system, and that's like friends, family. These things are, no matter what it is, it's very important to have that in it, because it by itself does not solve anything. It's what you do with it, but again, knowing the audience, dialing in on that, torquing down on that, and then taking the time to know when your active audience is engaged. So if it's people that are working 9 to 5 jobs, why are you posting at 2 p.m.? Unless, you know, it's like lunch break, right? Yeah, that timing is, literally, it's dictated by when this person elects to pick up their phone. If they don't pick up their phone, it's not going to work.
Kate has another statistic to lob at the group.
30% of millennial diners will actively avoid restaurants with a weak Instagram presence, and so potentially maybe that means be consistent and authentic and have a strong call to action. I think the strong call to action is the thing that has spoken to me the most listening to your stories, all of you. Like, what is it I want from somebody? Do I just want to tell them about me, or do I want them to engage in some way?
What do you all look for? Like if you're scrolling on this thing, what is it that excites you, or what do you want out of something that keeps your interest?
Well, Shanique and I were just
Yeah,
saying
we're both millennials.
older millennials.
Yeah, the older ones.
And I think that probably our behavior is a little bit different than younger millennials.
Yeah,
but
I don't go to.
Hi, everyone. I'm not a millennial.
Go to Instagram to look at the page. I'm going to the menu, then I'll check out the reviews.
No, I think it's a mood thing. I look at like a vibe, like, wow, this place looks really freaking cool. And then you click through to it and go, wow, this guy's dishes are great. Like, look, it's cool. And then, you know, maybe look at some comments. I don't know. I feel like there's boring Instagrams. And for me, those are just like, by the way, it could be the best restaurants in the country that probably have boring Instagrams. You know, it's like,
it might be anecdotal, but I think I have potentially an answer. No, I have potentially an answer to this question based on something that our manager here at Ginger Rabbit told me recently, and she's in the younger millennial category.
Yeah, right.
And she was giving me feedback on our Instagram here at Ginger Rabbit, which is a very inclusive place, and it's our stated goal to be inclusive here. And she said, listen, when I look at our Instagram, I don't see myself being represented in your place, and that's what I look for when I go on people's social medias. I want to know that I will be accepted and that I'm a part of, like that this is my scene. So from a identity standpoint, that you fit people's identities. And I think that is actually probably closer to the answer of this question, is that what we are projecting out into the world is inclusivity and the ability for someone to know that they're going to feel comfortable in our spaces. And that's something you actually need to consciously make an effort to do if you are not being your most authentic self, which I think that was her point. And she's like, I know you really well. I know what we're doing here, and we are inclusive, but our social media is almost like stepping over a line where it's not actually who we are. We're posting things that aren't like authentic to us.
Right.
I think that's why we're all kind of in agreement with, when you say the word weak, what does that mean? The reason I'm trying to define it is to say there's people that have multi-million-dollar marketing budgets for anything, and they just throw money at something. It doesn't make their page stronger because they have 1 million followers. That's still a weak page in my eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I'm not interested in as maybe a millennial who's on the younger end of stuff. Is I do what's called, like, because I have a science background, I do the quick research. So I'll click on the one. Okay, I clicked on that. Now I'll look at the history. Are they keeping up? Is the grid good? Is it clean? Are the pictures okay?
I was going to hit on the grid. I think that's
Yeah, like
important.
does it look okay? And it doesn't have to look perfect, but it's like if it doesn't look good, I'll click on one and is the caption good? Hey, are they talking about something? Or maybe it's somebody that's just trying really hard and they don't know. Like you can tell if somebody's trying or not, right? I think you all can see like, hey, is this a voice that's coming out of here, or is it just saying 2 for 1 for this beer? Or even if they're passionate about 2 for 1 for a beer and they post 2 for 1 beer every single day, even they can get creative with that, right?
Yeah, right.
And that can be a blurred out of focus picture, as long as it's always blurred and out of focus. Good example, Martha Stewart and David Chang, 2 people that are pretty well known in the world. If you looked at their pictures and how bad objectively in quality they were, but how good their voice is, like is that a weak one? I don't know, but I think it's interesting to see that the legendary Martha can take one out of focus and it gets a lot more engagement than anything that we could do.
I think when I think about weak, I think about, well, like you walk in a store or a restaurant and sometimes you can just smell the desperation already. And I think you can get some of that on social media. And you were saying 2 for 1 specials. If it's, you can tell when somebody's desperate for customers in a way that doesn't feel good.
You mean the whole industry right now?
Yeah, I know what you mean though. Like it just feels like everything's for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
You can only
Or they
do
don't
that.
have a
It's like they
common
lean too high into the
voice.
marketing side, where it's like now it's you can see that you did pay for only ads and you didn't post. Like if you just do boosted posts and you have one post that you keep boosting, you know, like it's
Yeah,
right.
But this conversation does make me think of one thing. You were talking about how specials you would sell out right away. You have people coming in right away. And I think something that might be interesting that I should consider is treating my regular things as specials. Because they don't, I've seen them a million times. I've thought about them a million times. They feel like they've been forever, but people looking on social media might
I've never
treat
seen
it like a special.
Something that-
I have seen some pages and it seems representative in your mind of like, hey, we are living in a contemporary time. So if you don't have your stuff together enough to even devote some attention to this to say that it's a valuable tool or it can be used as such, that certainly shows. And you just go like, I don't want to be here. However, I will say with a lot of my local favorite Chinese restaurants, do you think that it encouraged, when I see them post anything, I'm like, yeah, sick. Like it doesn't have to be, like it can just be a picture of the menu blurry and I'm like, they did something and it just reminds me that it's time to go there. So I'm not sure I
call
agree or
that
disagree.
Yeah.
I call that a poke, like when we're just reminding people
Yes.
that we actually exist in this
Yeah,
world.
we've talked about this
yeah.
a few times. You need like 3 pokes before you're gonna even look into a thing.
Yeah.
All right, it's
Podcast.
a new year and we're back for a new season. So we wanted to shake things up a bit. We have a new concept. It's our test kitchen brainstorming sessions. We want to hear from everyone in the group how you would attack this scenario, okay? You're partnering with an influencer to create a dish that you hope will go viral on social media. How would you do it? We want to hear from you, Chad.
How would I do it? I don't know. I think I'd let the influencer kind of create the dish. I think people are tuning in to see that influencer. You know, they always come into the restaurants and they do their influencer thing, and which is pretty amazing. You know, especially at like my age. I remember in the beginning I was like, influencer. Where's this influencer? Wants free food and stuff, and then you're like, they get 1 million views, and then your phone's ringing off the hook. So, but it'd be fun to watch them cook. So have them create the dish and come into your kitchen. So have them create the food, or you create the food, have them cook it.
And I wonder if they would really be able to do it.
I think we're making preconceived notions now. We don't know who the influencer
No,
is.
I mean, yeah.
I think I would probably treat it the way that I treat our regular menu R&D, which is to ask people what their childhood favorite dish is, and then riff off of that. Like specifically, what is it that you love about that dish, and try to make something that feels personal connection, homey. Like you get to know the person a little bit better through eating this food. So I think that's how I would tackle it.
So how would you measure the success of it?
Oh gosh, how do you measure the success of any dish? The P mix, I guess. Like if people order it, yeah. I mean, I don't really know how to measure the success
Sales,
of
right?
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. You know, you have 2 audiences that you're bringing, and even with influencers, if they're coming to you, they want to expand their audience as well. So I'd be aware of that and see what they were looking for, and they could see what we were looking for.
Yeah.
And as much as I'd like to say that, you know, we have a preconceived notion that someone is too good or too bad, everyone's just human at the end of the day.
Right.
So I'd appeal to that side and see if we could create some authentic content, because, you know, I want to see it influence them too. Like I want to see if I can do that. That would be awesome, because why else would they be coming? If they're just coming for marketing, then they're not a true influencer. True influencer has some following and an audience. So I think I'd lean into that and see what comes next. You know, like I'm not gonna say I have to make a dish or anything. I would just be like, cool. So normally, you cook on an ironing board or something. Well, maybe I'll try cooking on an ironing board. I don't know. Like, it's exciting, I think.
I don't know. I think I'm going to let Chad make all of my influencer partnership
There you
decisions
go.
for me.
All right, I have a question for everyone. Has there ever been a time where somebody's post on Instagram actually worked on you, where you saw something, you're like, I need to go to that restaurant or buy that thing? Shanika?
Yes.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a big fan of lychee martinis. You cannot get them every place you go. I was on vacation in South Beach, and I just typed in lychee martini, and Prime 112 popped up. Went. Junior was amazing. It was one of the best lychee martinis I've ever had. And they gave me extra lychees. Most places don't do that.
My family knows very well that I like to travel and find places to eat, and we'll tend to go on bakery sprees or restaurant sprees, and generally they're entirely inspired by what I see on Instagram. There are some, like I'm currently working through where I'm going to go when I go to New York City next month, and there are several bakeries that just have flavor combinations I haven't seen. That are really interesting to me, or they're doing something just a little bit different, and I'm interested enough to go try.
I was same way you should never go to the grocery store when you're hungry. Sometimes you shouldn't go on Instagram when you're hungry. And there was a somewhat famous influencer who came through town and rated our pizzas here, and there was a place called Sexton's Pizza that was very highly rated, and I saw that post when I happened to be really hungry, and I just instinctually went to the order now button and ended up with the Sexton's Pizza, and it was very tasty. So that was the time I got by social media. And
Did it live up to the hype?
to delicious results.
I think that there's been a couple times in the past, again, I'll try to avoid mentioning names, but there's been some accounts that were interesting, and they were similar, chef owners of places. And then I was just curious, so I sent a question in the DMs, and I received a response, and it seemed like, man, this person is so busy, they still have the time to respond. And so seeing that, it inspires me to try to respond to as many people as possible, too, because it seems when you get a direct line to somebody, because like Twitter, you can tweet at somebody with like Instagram, when it initiates a natural conversation. That was really cool. Like, it's really nice to know that there is a person behind that brand.
How are you, Chad?
I only respond to things that have Heinz ketchup. But kind of the same thing. We work a lot, and if we could get a night off, I think I respond to chef owners that are doing something outside of what they usually do in the restaurant. So if they're collaborating with, like you two guys, or doing something off menu, or doing something cool at an off site, I think I use social media to find out where, food people are doing cool things.
It's time for our favorite section. Overrated, underrated. Kate, take it away.
Mixing things up, we are going to do this. I'm going to read out a series of social media related activities, and just let me know how you feel about them. Paying for ads.
I just shared today that we are doing meta ads, so I have to say that it is underrated.
Overrated.
And I wouldn't have said that 3 months ago. So
Running contests or giveaways.
underrated. We do at the beginning of every month a giveaway for dinner for two, but you have to follow us and like us and tag your friend or whatever. And we pick up about 400 to 600 new followers every month doing that giveaway, and all we have to give away is one free dinner, generally to someone who's never been to the restaurant before, which is pretty cool.
I think it's underrated too. So we tried the contest last year for National Cheesesteak Day, and that was probably the best contest that we've ever done. And we gained about 60 new followers.
When
from
is
that.
National Cheesesteak Day?
March
I wanna-
the 23rd.
I want to celebrate this year.
I don't know. I haven't done it at my new spot yet. It's a lot of text where you got to tag all your friends. I don't have many friends that work all the time, right? So it's like, I got to think, who am I going to tag? No, I think it's nice. I don't like doing too many giveaways, because then I think it starts feeling like that everything's for sale kind of thing again. But it sounds like it's working for you, so I might have to try it.
Responding to every customer review.
So,
Oh yeah,
I would
please.
say I started off over, but now I think I'm under, because I think the stats are true. I think what I got from our staff was very good. We have a lot of Gen Z or the next after that. They brought up a good point. Why are we giving the giveaway to the people that are on Instagram? Why not give them to culinary students or donate? And so what we do now with the giveaways is we put it so like a culinary student can get the free dinner. We help with that, and
that's pretty dope.
That helps. Like, that gives a return, so you get both of that.
Responding to every customer's comment or review.
Underrated, because it's positive. I think I talked about this before, but positive reviews need responding to. We focus on the negative ones, which you should respond to too, because they probably got there because somebody didn't put it out there. Or if they're competitors, then you can take that and put it on the internet and be like, look, this person from this restaurant talked shit about me on public, and he didn't realize that everybody's going to find out because you have an IP address that I can track. So be careful, guys. Yeah, be very careful.
I just started doing something because we've talked about this before. Every time that I respond to a negative review, I take my time and respond to 5 positive reviews. You can't respond to all the reviews.
I think it's underrated. I think you should respond to all reviews, negative and positive, and I do not, but I should.
I think it's underrated. I don't respond to all. I do think that it's something that I should do. I just need to make the time.
I also encourage.
But I also do encourage people that when you do put out a review, whether it's good or bad, more so the bad ones, and you get a response from whether it's the manager or the owner, then take the time to respond back to what that person is saying.
I encourage, actually, I'll randomly pick some staff people to respond to it because you always want somebody else to do it. You never want to do it. So I say, hey, this is a person who took 15 minutes out of their day to write to you. Would you write back to them? And so we have our staff respond to them too.
All right, and that brings us to our final segment, the takeout, where we are going to go around the round table and talk about our parting thoughts, our biggest takeaway from this conversation. Chad, as you are new to the round table, what is your biggest takeaway from this conversation?
So my takeaway from this, that authenticity of your social media, I think is the most important thing to, especially when you're starting out with a new restaurant or you're the hot spot in the neighborhood. I think that authenticity is like when you look at that grid, right? It's like, does that feel like what it feels like when you walk in your spot? But yeah, being authentic.
Cool. What about you, BJ?
My biggest takeaway, I alluded to it earlier, but it's in the same vein as making sure that we're not just like posting things or doing ads for the sake of doing them, but actually trying to show off something that's like authentically us with the restaurant. I think we could do a better job with that, and I agree.
I wonder if I can
Being
get
intentional with what you're posting. Again, just to piggyback off of what you two said, just staying true to who you are, who the brand is. And then I don't think you have to post every single day, but when you do post, just making sure that it's meaningful.
I think for me, I want to make sure I'm having a conversation. I liked when Avishar was talking about how this is social media and we should be social. And I liked that kind of with intention being a little more social in it.
Two things. One was, maybe overthinking is not the best thing. Sometimes when you build something and you're there, the tendency is to, oh my gosh, now that we're here, what are we going to do? We might lose it, but to not think that way and just keep going forward, because that's originally why you started in the first place. And then secondarily, I think what I learned from this was it's almost like when we are chefs of restaurants, we feed our guests the menu, and the same way with social media posts, we need to feed the audience that way too. So think about the audience that it's going to and try to do your best. And accept that there'll be some mistakes along the way and just try.
If you like what you heard in this episode, please follow us on social media. Our links will be in the show notes, and leave us a comment, and we might even read it on our next episode of Restaurant Roundtable. And you can find all of us, Avishar, myself, Kate, Shanika, and our special guest Chad, also on social media. What are your ats for people to follow you?
Chef Chad Rosenthal.
Do you have a burning question that we didn't answer today? Or are you just hungry for more of Restaurant Roundtable? Make sure to subscribe to Kraft Heinz Away From Home newsletter at kraftheinzawayfromhome.com. By subscribing, you'll get exclusive access to special polls, content, and promotions.
Visit kraftheinzawayfromhome.com to help you elevate your business. The links are in the episode description. Don't miss out. It's the perfect recipe to stay ahead in the industry. In the meantime, you can find Restaurant Roundtable on Spotify, YouTube, and social media. Thanks for joining us, Chad. This was really a delicious conversation. Yeah. And I hope we have you back sometime. And we're looking forward to also getting Jamar back. We miss him. But,
I'm sure when he comes back, we'll have a lot to catch up.
You've been waiting for that.
We get one pun an episode. There it is. Very end.